Right. Were you in like were you connecting with anyone while you were walking? Were you talking to like I think you said when you first started you had a girlfriend, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
How did that work out? I mean, obviously you're not
Well,
with her anymore, but I mean, how did you keep that or try to date while you were walking?
yeah, I mean, I didn't really. I mean, so with my girlfriend before that, we actually like it was known that we dated the year before, and like the first date, I was like, "Hey, I'm leaving in a year. Like, we can
Oh, okay.
keep hanging out if you want, but I'm leaving in a year, kind of thing." And so she knew, and so we weren't actually like dating when I left, I guess per se, but it was still close and spoke a lot. But when I was in college and a little out of college, I had this long-term relationship and I ended that for the World Walk. And so that sort of maybe I wouldn't say like calloused me, but it taught me that it's like you can't get close to anyone right now while you're doing this walk because
Yeah.
it just demands too much and no
And
one's.
it could be distracting. It could take you away from what your original goal was. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for a long time, I just never really allowed myself to get close to anyone romantically. As the years went on, I got like more and more exhausted in a certain way of always having that guard up. And so I let it down as the years went on a little bit. And it would cause, maybe a little bit more difficulty, but that was kind of, I'd just been out for a long time. It just became, it was taxing
Right.
emotionally. But yeah, I mean, as I was going, I would meet people all the time. I'd have people invite me in, or if I was in a city for a little bit longer, it's hard to make deep connections. I'd make a lot of surface level connections for a night or two, kind of thing, of
Yeah.
locals who were really kind. And if I stopped in a place, say for a month or for a couple of weeks, then I could meet people and hang out with them and build deeper relationships. So there's, met a lot of great people, had a lot of great people help me, but the deeper relationships were definitely one of the things that I was missing and longed for during those years. But that was kind of, like anything, any big commitment, there's going to be some sacrifices, and that was one of them.
Sure. Do you have any regrets? Do you like what was your big takeaway from doing this?
Yeah, no, I don't have any regrets. No, it's fantastic. I would say my only regret is like I should have just kept like I should have just always had Bravecto on me or something. I should have had like name brand tick stuff sent out instead of using off-brand stuff in some of these countries. But no, I mean, otherwise, like in a large scale, no regrets. I'll say the big takeaway really is, and something that it just took me a long time to fully understand, is just people are really small, and in the sense of, well, like personally, you think, motivation and willpower is enough to direct your life perfectly. And like you can nudge your life this way or that, but really, you're decided by your geography and the economy you're born into and your family, how they messed you up or how they didn't mess you up. And I would just meet people everywhere who were smarter than I was, kinder than I was, more driven than I was, definitely more generous. I remember like I'd meet all these people where like I'd be found on their land or like, I'd just be passing through and they were so warm and welcoming. I'd be like, I wouldn't be the same. I would have been so suspicious of this creepy guy sleeping on like the edge of my field.
Mm.
But I was the one walking through their country because I had an American passport and I had like the American currency behind me. And
Mhm.
these guys were, it's like a cattle rancher because his dad was a cattle rancher, or, he's selling motor oil to passing trucks because that's what's available in the desert, or, he's a shepherd in Turkey because that's where he was born. That's what he's been doing.
Mhm.
And so in a certain way, this idea that people are small and that we're small is like very liberating because you're able to sort of relieve yourself from the pressures of becoming something. And if things don't work out, you can go, hey, that's how it is, and be more accepting of your own flaws, even. And then in the other way, it's really frustrating because it what it tells you is that like good systems really matter.
Yeah.
Like good economic policy, good governance, like transparent governance, like really matters. And otherwise, you're just messing up. You're putting down like millions, billions of people's lives, and that are just trying to make some money and hang out with their family. So yeah, that people are small is definitely was like the most transformative, I would say, lesson that was really driven home to me.
I'm curious how you found people to be in terms of different countries as well. I mean, like we see all this strife and turmoil that's happening now, in a number of different places. And we're told, especially in America with the media, we're told how these people are, how they think of us. What was your experience with other people and other cultures within each other, and then experiencing you as an American?
Yeah, well, this is exactly like people are small and people are the same everywhere. It's you. I would have in the first 2 years in particular, every country like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. I'm entering El Salvador. I'm entering Peru. I can't imagine what it's going to be like there. And then you get there and it's like, oh no, it's just like people hanging out, just like everywhere else.
Right.
And they're eating different food and their clothes change and the landscape changes, but it's just people like making money, hanging out with their family everywhere. And you know,
Meaning essentially we're all the same.
100%, absolutely. Like, no doubt about it. People are pretty nice everywhere. They're doing their best everywhere.
Right.
And, the structural things change, where, countries get caught in a resource trap or, they have a dictator and, they tank, whatever the economy or their, whatever it is. But the people on the ground, the average person is the same everywhere. They're pretty kind. They're well-intentioned. And, this is just by virtue of producing any sort of content. You like want to talk about interesting things. Like that's just the virtue of it. And I think it's important to understand for, the layman, for the average person that, a podcast, an article, like they're there to be interesting, but there's not a story to be written about, oh, another 10,000 people lived in peace in this town. And that's like the majority of the world. It's just people hanging out and, that's it.
Right. Can you name some of your favorite places that you went to that you would even consider living in?
Definitely Turkey. I love Turkey. Just such kind, warm people.
I love Turkey.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. I have you ever heard of Backroads?
No.
It's a biking company.
Oh,
So
cool.
I went on a 14-day bike through Turkey. I guess it was through Bodrum
Oh, yeah.
down to, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Ankara.
Yeah. Ankara. Yeah.
Yeah, Ankara. Okay. And then kind of around and back. But, I also did it through Morocco, and I've done it by myself each time, but I mean, with a group of 15 people. But I always found it interesting that because you stay in 5-star hotels at night. Okay. But you have a bike and you have a path and you kind of go at your own pace, and there is a car that follows you. Turkey to me was so beautiful. And we would stop for lunch and meet these women who are making the Turkish, the rugs and have the apple tea and all that. And it was gorgeous. And then in Morocco, I found that fascinating because you go through these switches, and I remember being completely alone on a path and seeing, I don't know the official name, a shepherd, like you were talking about with these goats. And I would pull over on the side, and people would say, oh, as a woman or, a young girl too, be very careful. You shouldn't be doing this. But I found it fascinating. And I remember sitting there thinking like, what the hell does this guy think about all day? Like he has the goats and he has the sun, and there's no newspapers. There's no podcast that he's listening to. Like I didn't get it. So I just would sit there. And I also found it fascinating that he knows every movement of every goat and knows them intimately, but eventually they have to be killed for food, right? So I mean, I thought that was, I couldn't understand it, but I found it so amazing to sit there and just see how other people live and how different it is and beautiful. And, there's all parts of it that, you take a little from each place and you're just like, oh, I love that. I love this. You know what I mean? Okay. Sorry.
Definitely.
So
No. That's great.
but Turkey was amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you saw, I'm sure it's like European enough feeling that you feel like you're at home in a certain way, but then it has the Asian and African influence on top of it. So the architecture is different, the food's a little different.
Yeah.
So yeah, Turkey's definitely up there. And it's also very easy to say in Turkey, like you could like logistically do it. I would say, and then right up to the east, I would say Georgia is another country. That was probably my favorite. And a lot of that is because they don't have any resources. This is ex-USSR country, but they don't have any natural resources like Azerbaijan next door. and it's a young democracy, and you can just tell like everyone cares and everyone's hustling.
Mm.
And so you get amazing restaurants, you get amazing music, you get amazing artwork because everyone is just trying to make their lives a little better, and rather than it being this, country dominated by oil wealth or some mineral wealth, whatever it is, it's just one man on the ground at a time trying to do their best. And you really feel like this vibrant energy throughout Tbilisi, the capital in particular. So
Yeah.
yeah, so those two are fantastic. I would love to move to Denmark just so I could ride my bike everywhere every day. That was really
Mm.
nice.
Yeah. I'm
And
sure. I've never been
like
there.
the Colombian cities are fantastic as well. Very lively, very passionate, and great food.
I forget, did you say that you've walked through areas like Vietnam and over there?
I didn't because of the visa stuff. So that's why
Okay.
initially going up to like Mongolia was the easier way with the visas. It would have been, I don't even know. I mean, I guess I could have do it, but it's like Iran, you can't, as an American, you wouldn't be able to walk, or you can't even get an entry into without like it being a tour. Afghanistan, probably the same. So I don't even know. I mean, I guess there would be some way, but yeah, it's hard to get over that world, over to that section of the world walking.
Yeah.